Kathy Lujan was missing.
We had no idea where she was. We'd searched everywhere we could think of.
She would never abandon her kids.
We've always just stuck around together. And I was heartbroken.
We were interviewing everybody who knew Kathy.
Text her that she was different. She wasn't using the same phrases anymore, and it was cold. You know, the texts were cold.
You can be with someone, and that person has her phone and could be texting.
I didn't have her phone. There ain't nothing to tell like that.
Who has her phone? And why are they pretending to be her? And what have they done with her?
She was cheating with 2 men. When was the last time y'all fooled around?
The way his body language was, I knew he knows where she's at.
The game's up. We need to find Kathy.
Fredo Police Department.
Yes, ma'am. I need to know who to talk to file a missing persons report.
Okay, what's going on?
My wife left Wednesday. She had somebody pick her up. Yesterday, I was trying to get her to come home, and she hasn't answered any of my texts.
And your name?
Juan Gonzalez. And myself and my 13-year-old are real worried, and I have a 5-year-old here that keeps asking for his mother.
What is her name, your wife?
Kathy Lujan.
It was on a Saturday. That's when I got the call. Kathy Lujan was missing.
When I heard that Kathy went missing, my heart dropped. I was in complete, utter shock, just horror.
My mother and me, we've always just stuck around together. And I was heartbroken.
Kathy's always been a great friend. She was always there for me, always. When my sister passed away, she called me every single day after that, every single day. She is amazing.
Kathy is very caring of other people. The most important thing to Kathy are her boys.
She was my go-to person. She's an extremely vibrant person. She's very welcoming. She was just a hard worker and always wanting more for her kids.
When I got to Juan and Kathy's home, I saw Juan in the front yard, and I'm approaching him. What I'm looking for, the first thing, is to see his demeanor. Juan Gonzalez Jr.?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he really visibly upset? Is it because his wife missing? Is there something else going on? Who lives here at home?
Myself, Kathy, Nathaniel, and Lee Adrian.
Lee Adrian, he's 5 years old, and then Nathaniel, he is 13 years of age at that time.
Hey!
He's always been a daddy's
Hey,
boy.
look what a cute little birdie.
I could tell that he loves his children. Those are his boys, and he's a very good father. Now, Kathy Lujan, how long have y'all been together?
Oh, man, 20 years.
You can tell he was shaken up. You could tell that his eyes had been watery.
Daddy, don't cry.
It looked to me that he was very worried about Kathy. And Kathy works where?
HEB, she's an assistant lead manager in the bakery.
So tell me about Wednesday.
When I was walking up, I could hear her on the phone. And when I walk in, she just kind of like tosses the phone to the side. And I said, who are you talking to? And she said, none of your business. I knew something was going on with her. She had to be at work at 2 in the morning. She was leaving like at 12:30, 12:45. I would act like I was still asleep and afraid to ask her. I approached her that day when she tossed the phone. I said, look, you know, are you fooling around, you know? And she says, I'm messing with this guy named Paul at HEB. And the other guy's name, I don't know. All I know is that he was her high school sweetheart.
Both guys?
Both guys. Of course, I got upset, but I knew it was coming. She also told me I can go to my dad's and stay there. I said, no, man, don't do that to the kids. You know, let's just be.
Does her dad live here?
Yeah, Bruce Paget. He's a locksmith.
This is Paget's sister?
Paul Paget's
Paul
sister.
Paget's sister?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, oh my God, this is Paul's sister. Paul Paget is a former police officer with the Midland Police Department. I've known Paul for, I would say, 21 years.
I knew that Rosie was giving everything she had in order to find Kathy.
Even though he's not employed here with us anymore, it's personal in a way. It's just, it gets emotional. We're brothers and sisters in blue.
was about 3:30. I left to go get Lee Adrian from Village Daycare, and we went to pick up my older son. When we got back, she was gone. So I'm thinking she either left with that dude, Paul, or the other guy. I texted her. She says, I'll come back when I'm ready to talk. She never came back.
I did believe, Juan, that she had had an affair with these two men. So I had to find a person named Paul at HEB. I knew the other person, we were gonna have to get him identified and talk to him. Could be a possibility that she could be with one of these two men. Do you mind if we go through the room, make sure there's nothing, see if we can find anything?
Yeah.
But who's the main suspect in most missing people is the husband or a loved one. So I want to get him eliminated to say we exhausted every means. He is not a suspect. What is his medication for?
Her thyroid.
On her side, there's a nightstand, and there is bottles of medication. They were empty, and it's, you know, something that you follow in the back of your mind. You may need it, you may not need it. What I want to do is take the car and check inside the car for blood. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, you can take the car, ma'am.
It's a good sign. He's cooperating. Search anything you want. I have nothing to hide. I need to get her hairbrush and toothbrush. That's for DNA, okay? At that point, I need help. There's things we got to get done, because if we're going to find her, we're going to find her now. If we don't, we may never find her. We have to react now. She could have left with someone. If there's no foul play, there's no foul play. But there was a possibility that something bad happened to Kathy.
The notion that she had just run off was possible. Her leaving her kids behind, for a mother to do that, is possible also, but it's strange. So the investigation included doing a lot of victimology, which is where we study the victim herself.
She had just received a great job at HEB. She'd even received a promotion within her first few months there and was going to a management school.
She was really trying to make more of herself so that she could better the lives for her kids.
Kathy had recently lost a good amount of weight.
She was finally happy with herself, happy with her career, happy with her physique.
I could see that she wasn't happy with Juan. At times he was sweet with her, but she just knew that she could be happy elsewhere. And Kathy had a coworker that she really liked. He made her feel good.
Carmel is Kathy's best friend. She's going to have a lot of information about Kathy. I decided to have Carmel come up to the police department. How long did she have a relationship with Paul?
I want to just... Okay, let me think. Maybe 3 months.
3 months.
Kathy and Juan were kind of separated at the time. Paul made her very happy.
It wasn't serious, or is it just...
No, she really did like him.
Kathy told me that she wanted me to meet this guy named Paul. I told Kathy, you need to end things with Juan before you proceed with Paul. And Kathy told me that she couldn't do that because Juan had nowhere to go and she felt bad.
I actually went and had drinks with Paul and Kathy. Paul, at a first appearance, seems a little bit rough. So when Kathy went missing, I felt like maybe it could have been Paul.
I was able to find a person named Paul at HEB. I called him, I spoke to him. He denied having some type of a relationship with Kathy Lujan. I did not believe him. I thought to myself, is Kathy with him? He was gonna have to come in and talk to me. Thank you, Paul, for coming up here. Rosita Rodriguez. And this is my partner, Detective Corson. We need to get to the truth. Paul did get teary-eyed and emotional.
Sorry. We had to get something from him. We had no idea where she was.
And that afternoon after she went home, that was the last time I seen her.
We couldn't believe him. We had to go check.
We identified the other lover. When did y'all start up the relationship?
Probably about a month ago, maybe.
Even though he came into the police department and cooperated, he's still a suspect.
Crime Stoppers need your help tracking down a missing woman. 41-year-old Kathy Ann Lujan was last seen at her home in West Midland wearing a pink shirt and black slacks.
It's hard seeing it, you know, in the news when her face on Facebook or her face on the news, that was hard.
Juan Gonzalez reported his wife missing on Saturday. The last time he saw Kathy was on that Wednesday, May 11th.
And the husband says she just up and left. Searches are racing against the clock. We want to find a person before they get themselves in a bad spot.
Kathy had to get away. She would have called me somehow. Where Kathy would never, ever, 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 ever just up and leave her kids, ever.
I know that Kathy had had an affair with Paul Mendes. When I spoke to him on the phone, Paul lied about not having a relationship with Kathy. It did raise a red flag. What else can he lie about? Thank you, Paul, for coming up here. This is my partner, Detective Corson. There was something in me that did make me feel, well, is it a possibility that she's hiding with Paul? I need to find out what is going on. What's the relationship between you and Kathy?
I would say like in December, somewhere around there. We did fool around.
He ended up confirming that he had lied to me and that he had had a relationship with Kathy.
But that was almost, what, 5 months ago?
When was the last time y'all fooled around?
Man, it had to be, like I said, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, something like that. It was like she was in management now, so it was like, hey, I mean, I'm just an employee right now, so they call it unprofessional misconduct by a management.
It makes sense why he lied. I mean, she's the boss, and HEB has a policy if that occurs, the manager's terminated. He was lying to me to protect Kathy. Wednesday between 12:30 and 1, after you get off work, where do you go to?
Well, I went and hung out with, call him JoJo.
Okay, for how long?
I know, say 11:30 or something like that.
At night?
Yes, ma'am.
He provided alibis where he was at a friend's house. And of course, we need to verify and check. What does your gut tell you happened to Kathy?
I watched. I've seen those snap, 48 hours. You know, they say y'all have 48 hours, and within 48 hours, a lot of time the case goes cold. So, and it's already been over 48 hours. So it's all right.
I know you're tearing up and stuff. I know it's hard for you to say it, but I need you to tell me. At any time, did you ever see Kathy again in person?
That morning, that was the last time I seen her. Went out. And that afternoon, after she went home, that was the last time I seen her.
Paul Mendes' reaction was real, very genuine. Even though I had those feelings, he's still a suspect. I still want to forensic download his phone. I still want to know where he was when Kathy came up missing. When I say I'm going to eliminate someone, I want it to be 100%. Juan told me that his wife was cheating with 2 men. We identified the other lover, Ramiro Paredes. Ramiro Paredes saw on his Facebook that Kathy was missing, and he immediately called. He called to tell us that he was having an affair with her. Tell me, how long have you known Kathy?
I've known her since I was 17, I guess.
When did y'all start up the relationship?
Probably about a month ago, maybe. I mean, we've never really done anything. We kissed a couple of times.
When is the last time you talked to her?
The last time I talked to her was that Wednesday.
Ramiro Paredes, even though he came into the police department, provided his phone and cooperated, he's still a suspect. And him just being cooperative doesn't mean it makes him innocent. Some time went by when you get some text from her.
Right. Text her that she was different. It wasn't the same. She wasn't the same person.
Because she didn't use the same phrases.
Right. She wasn't using the same phrases anymore, and it was cold. You know, the texts were cold.
He had been getting text messages that he believed was not Kathy, from Kathy's phone, after she went missing. While I was looking at the text, it seems like it was different because you were like, seemed surprised that she wanted you to send her a naked picture or something
Right.
And she's never, has she ever spoken to you like that before?
No, never.
So at that point you knew it was?
Yeah, I knew it wasn't her.
Okay. We were able to look at the verbiage, how it had changed. It's a great possibility that she can be with someone and that person has her phone and could be texting, pretending to be Kathy.
Who has her phone? And why are they pretending to be her? And what have they done with her?
He has not come home, and she's been gone since Wednesday. Kathy's Paul's sister. I've known Paul for, I would say, 21 years. I just put a lot of pressure on myself.
I do a lot of traveling, and when you have a lot of windshield time, your thoughts tend to wander. There were plenty of times to driving, start thinking about my sister, start crying.
Part of me hoped that Kathy had just ran off, but I knew that she would never abandon her kids.
We need to start eliminating suspects. One of them was Paul Mendez. He had had an affair with Kathy. When I talked to Paul Mendez, he provided alibis. I spoke to all his alibis. They confirmed that he was there with them. The forensic download didn't show any type of communication between him and Kathy trying to meet up somewhere, and never has he ever been around Kathy Lujan's house. He was eliminated as a suspect. The next person to do follow-up on was Ramiro Paredes, the other lover. I talked to his boss. His boss said what time he showed up and what time he left. And he was there the whole time. We did a search warrant for his cell phone, and it corroborated everything he said. We eliminated him as a suspect. The way the investigation is going, I lost all hope of finding her alive.
My mind thinks along the lines of law enforcement. Based on the circumstances, this many weeks gone by, hope was gone.
There's a field not too far from the house.
There's trees and all kinds of brush and stuff.
There was about 6 to 7 of us out there searching in the field. And we didn't find her. It was extremely frustrating for us.
I had to trust in Rosie and the Midland Police Department that they would figure it out, find her.
We were interviewing everybody who knew Kathy, and it may lead to something else, and it may not.
Well, I spoke to her Wednesday morning.
Okay.
I've worked the store for 20 years, and so I've known Kathy, and she's, a pretty regular customer.
Yes, sir.
So Juan came in Tuesday and cashed this check. It was check number 2081. And I did it because I've known both of them. They've come in the store for years, and I didn't have any problem with it. That was at 3:19, actually, when he came in and cashed that. Then he came back in that evening at 7:49 and tried to cash check number 2102 for $180.
2102?
Right, and so that's what threw something off
Yeah, because
with me.
it's way...
Yeah, in 4 hours to do that many checks, and so I was
No.
like, what's up with it? He's like, well, I just gotta do a sprinkler system, and I was like, I don't feel right about that, I can't do it.
It's very suspicious. We wanted to monitor her bank accounts.
And what we quickly discovered was that Kathy's bank accounts were completely drained in about 4 days. We saw Juan make a series of withdrawals around town.
This is what we needed. It was a big break for us.
The focus is now on Juan Gonzalez. So I spoke to him about coming to the police department and to provide a statement again. Okay, you probably just saw Mitch. Okay. Sergeant Mitch Russell was in the interview with me when I was talking to Juan.
I had met Juan through a previous investigation. He got himself in trouble with some drugs, like in 1999. He did cooperate with the Midland Police Department. So I basically just offered, hey, I know Juan, I have a pretty good rapport with him. If you need me to come help you with the interview, I'd be more than happy to.
I have to advise you of your rights because obviously you didn't come up here on your own. An officer brought you up here. So let me just read your rights and you tell me if you understand or don't understand, okay?
I'm sitting just kind of behind Rosie. It's a pretty small interview room. And I didn't know anything about the case. I had no knowledge of any evidence. I was just gonna try to observe the way Juan acted, the way he talked to Rosie. And I believed that if he was involved, I'd be able to tell her pretty quick.
There's some issues that I'm having with what he told me. I don't have her phone physically, but I did a search warrant and I got all the information from cell site towers. And there's a particular one, which I'm not quite understanding, is on Friday the 13th. She's gone and you have your phone and it shows to be at your house. Your phone is there and her phone is there. I believe that Juan was getting on her phone and pretending to be Kathy.
No, I didn't have her phone.
So all this technology is lying.
It doesn't mean that I had her phone, Rosie.
It does. You had her phone.
Juan didn't address me at all, and he wouldn't make eye contact with me, which was odd to me because we'd had history, and he believes that I was going to be on his side, so I would believe he would be looking at me for help. I knew at that point that he knew where she was and what happened.
Let's just try to get her back home.
What do you want me to do?
Tell me where you took her so we can bring her back home.
I didn't take her anywhere, Rosie. I didn't take her anywhere.
He was trying to be more intimate with her in knowledge by calling her first name to get her to believe what he was saying.
I wouldn't have had time to do anything to my wife, Rosie, and then clean something up before getting the boys. There'd be blood everywhere.
Well, now you're talking about blood. We found blood in the truck. How did that blood get there?
I don't know.
We had found blood in Juan's car, and we had sent it off to the DPS laboratory for testing. When those results came back, it was Kathy's blood.
I think that she's cheating on you, definitely. You're hurt. I wanted him to know that I understand where you're coming from and make him look like the good person and her like the bad person, and then try to get some type of connection with him as saying, I'm on your side. Either you attacked her because you wanted to, or you were defending yourself. It's one or the other. I think you were defending yourself and you didn't mean to hurt her. I was trying to bait him, give him different ideas of what could have happened to see if he would take one of them and lead us to Kathy. I went ahead and pulled up her finances. What did you think I find?
I told you, I'm always using it. Even the Wells Fargo bank card is my birthday. The PIN number is my birthday, 1971. I've always had access to the bank stuff, always.
You went and withdrew money from Wells Fargo, and you went to Chase. In that order.
That's what you're telling me, or
That's what I'm
asking?
telling you.
Okay. You're trying to make me tell you something that didn't happen and that I didn't do. You've been a f***ing dick with me.
No.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have. Your whole attitude changed towards me, trying to make me tell you something that didn't happen and that I didn't do. You've been a f***ing dick with me.
No.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
Our connection is gone. He was upset. I knew at the end I had lost him.
This is stupid. I didn't do anything to my wife, Rosie.
I know that Sergeant Russell was in there and he had that rapport. So to me, it was like, if I can't do it and you can do it and you can get us to Kathy's body, I'm okay with it. I'm gonna step out for a little bit and I'll be right back.
Yeah, round 2.
Whatever.
Can I talk to him for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bitch, don't even start, dude.
Just Bryce, settle down.
Oh, man.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you straight up, looking at you, I don't think you did anything.
Well, you know, like, why is she
Relax.
just drilling me like that?
Because that's her job.
I know, but...
That's her job. And they're trying to figure out what happened.
Sergeant Russell puts the blame on us and not on him. And I'm your friend, why don't you talk to me?
I've known you for a long time, and I watch how you act, and I've talked to you a bunch of times. But I'm telling you, something happened. I was gonna have to calm the interview down and try to convince him that I was on his side. I don't think you did anything. I've known you for a long time, but I know you know where she's at.
I don't know where she's at, Mitch. Those are games, too.
No, I'm not playing a game with
You're telling me that you don't believe I did something to her so I can go ahead and tell you, yeah, okay.
No. I believe that because the way you looked at her when you were answering her. I've watched you for a long time. I've interviewed you on other things. And I know how much you like, I mean, your relationship with your kids. I've seen you at school. I've seen you take your kids to school. So I know all that stuff. And I'm not going to play games with you. And I'll get out of here and leave in just a minute. But I'm just telling you. You're gonna have to step up for their sake. I was trying to get him to a spot where he would take that and feel bad about kids not knowing what happened, family not knowing what happened. I tried to get on his level, man to man, where I was the only lifeline that he thought he had. You gotta come right with it, okay? All right, so think about it.
He stepped out of the interview room. I gave him the records to the phone to show where both phones were at the same location.
They think you have her phone, and you're saying you don't.
I don't have it.
You don't have it. Have you ever had it?
Just when we were at home and we would before.
No, I'm talking about since this time. Have you had her phone at any time?
No.
Because I'm going to tell you that it's going to ping where it pings. I mean, it's going to be where it's at, where these GPS coordinates say it's at. And it's going to say it's at your house at the same time as your phone. We are now deciding, if he doesn't confess, what is it going to take for us to convince a jury of 12 that he did it if we don't have the body? The first thing I wanted from him was to admit that he had her phone. And then once I could get him to admit, then I could work my way into where she was. And so I know you had her phone. And that's not helping you. You're probably making this a whole lot worse. It's bad, don't get me wrong, not for you, but I'm talking about the situation. You're probably making it a whole lot worse than if you just told what happened.
Nothing happened.
Okay.
Me and Kat.
I didn't say it did between you and her, but the situation happened, something happened that you ended up with her phone and texting back and forth with people. That, whether it may be completely righteous, that doesn't look good. And now that you've lied about it, you've got to get in front of it.
You know, and I'm not saying Rosie's lying, but I know how this. She already lied to me several times in the past week and a half. What else would she lie about just to try to get?
You know the game.
I've lied to people before to get them to tell the truth. She ain't getting nothing out of me because there ain't nothing to tell like that.
You're always walking that fine line of how hard and how far can you push, and everybody's a little different. She may have been gone, but you're texting on her phone. And I don't blame you. I'd have been trying to find out what was going on too.
Look, Mitch, I'm gonna tell you this, but I know it's just gonna lead to something else. So,
okay,
you know, she's gonna be, and I know they're listening. Whoever,
oh yeah, you know that.
It's gonna lead to, okay, well, if you're lying about this, then what else are you lying about?
That's right. Well, hang on, it will. Except at least you will have a voice in this. Because right now, you do not have a voice in this.
Okay, look, the day she gave me the phone,
okay,
I took off with it.
All right.
When I left to go pay Brian and pick up the boys, I left with the phone and wouldn't give it back to her, and left the house.
Okay.
When I heard Juan finally admit that he had both phones, I inhaled and then I exhaled. It's like, finally, we got there.
That was a big deal because it corroborated stuff we already had. What we believed happened was Juan had her phone, and he was texting numbers that were in her phone, acting like he was her.
Based on the circumstantial evidence, Kathy was dead. And we knew that Juan Gonzalez had done it.
We had a pretty good circumstantial case against Juan, but we didn't have a rock-solid case.
We do not have a body.
Because right now, you do not have a voice in this.
Hey, look, the day she gave me the phone,
okay,
I took off with it.
Juan admitted that he and Kathy got in a fight. He took her phone from her and then she left. And within a few minutes of that confession about having the phone, I believe that we were going to transition to leading us to her right then. What do you think, Kathy?
I think she just left, Mitch.
But it just kind of fizzled out. You think she'll eventually show back up?
Yeah.
I thought he may ask for an attorney, and we would have been shut down. I decided not to press the interview any further. I had failed them by not being able to get this confession that he killed her and dumped her body.
The longer that Juan was out in the free world, the longer there was this potential that he could tamper with evidence. There was this potential that he could flee.
My wife and I are very concerned about the boys. Our greatest fear was that Juan would just up and take the boys somewhere and we'll have nothing.
Juan had been seen using a credit card that belonged to Kathy's father. He had no permission to use this credit card, and there's no reason why he would have the credit card, and Kathy would not have given him the credit card. And so we made the decision to go ahead and put Juan in jail for the offense of credit card abuse.
When Juan was arrested, we placed the children with Kathy's brother, Paul Paget.
Based on my experience with Juan, I believe he's going to have some remorse, and that's going to eat at him sitting in jail. Our plan was to let him sit for a little bit, and then we were going to go talk to him again. It just worked out that he kind of made our decision for us.
Hey, Juan. As I was here, I got a letter from you saying you want to talk to me. So I'm here to talk to you.
When Juan came in that day, he seemed worn down. It looked like it'd been wearing on his conscience what he had done.
I just wanted to know if y'all found anything out.
And we found some stuff in the investigation, yes. If anything happened to Kathy and you know where she is, this is the time for you to tell us.
I don't have anything to tell you like that, Rosie. I don't.
We had to get something from him. We had no idea where she was. We'd searched the fields, we'd searched the dump, we'd searched everywhere we could think of, and we didn't find her.
So what if this afternoon you get filed for murder?
I don't know. I don't know what to say on that.
This is going to be our last chance to get the truth and get Kathy back home. Because we were going to keep going until he takes us to the body or he requested an attorney.
I don't understand how y'all can charge me with murder when y'all haven't even found Kathy. Well, can y'all even prove that she's dead?
Because they have her blood. Your deceptiveness initially, the phone problem that you had, it's called circumstantial evidence. And it's the same as me watching you do it. Whether you did something to her or not, where is she?
I don't know where she's at, Mitch. I don't.
I mean, I'm a reasonable guy, but the evidence is overwhelming.
I see Juan looking down. I feel he's defeated. You can't help but get a little excited because you know you're getting the edge now. It was something that happened, like an accident, something else.
Maybe she did something to herself. Then you think, nobody's gonna believe me. I'm on federal probation. We've been having troubles. All this stuff, so I'm stuck. What am I gonna do? I've got to try to make it look like she disappeared, ran off on her own. I'm gonna give him an out, and the out's gonna be he found her dead and dumped her body. It's a better ending to the story of what he did. It's not your fault if she did something to herself. I try to press him to that position, but so we can find the body, and then we'll, you know, figure it out from there.
I know this is probably a stupid question right now, but before I say anything, is there any way I can have something to drink and maybe smoke a cigarette?
What do you want?
I remember screaming, "Get me a cigarette, get me a cigarette!" He wanted to tell us everything. We had to act fast before he changes his mind.
How's goodness?
Jenny is going to her car.
Okay.
At the time, I was still a smoker. So I ran in my car, grabbed my cigarettes, and brought them up, said, "He can have all of them if he just tells us where she is."
So we'll get you the cigarette or whatever, but you need to tell us the truth.
I didn't do anything to Kat.
Okay.
It's freaking pills, wasn't it? Mitch had got him on the road now to accepting the suicide story, so I just built on his tactic. I saw those bottles right there and they were empty. It's definitely very important that I remember the prescription medication because this is stuff that in the past Juan knew that I knew. It wasn't something that was just brought up, so it makes it more plausible.
I don't know when she was taking those pills or whatever.
So you got home?
I got home and she was laying on the kitchen. On the kitchen floor between the stove and the refrigerator.
I mean, was she like bleeding or was she just laying there?
I passed out.
She was laying down face first. I never panicked because I'm on federal paper and my record, you know, and...
It's understandable. So you put her in the car?
No, I put her in the truck.
So you put her in the truck, and where did you take her?
There's no talking, and it feels like it takes forever. And I'm trying to keep him engaged and not lose him, and now I'm getting excited that, hey, we're fixing to get some closure on this thing.
Hey, it will get better. Just where did you take her?
But I had that same feeling in the first interview. It was pretty devastating that it didn't happen that day. This is our last chance to find Kathy's body. This time, I did not want to screw that up.
Hey, I'm telling you, it'll get better. Just where did you take her?
I wrapped her up in some blankets. I took her up there on, what is that highway going towards San Angelo?
Like 158?
You want to sit there and cheer and jump up and down, but in all reality, you have to still be quiet because the interview room's not far away. So you don't want him to hear us and then him backtrack and not give us our exact location.
All right, well, this is what we're going to do, okay? You're going to smoke you a cigarette and drink you some Coke. And then we're going to load you up in the car and you're going to take us, okay?
All right.
The thing with Juan is he couldn't believe anything he said for the longest time. So when he told us where he put Kathy's body, I still didn't believe him that was going to be the place.
When we first got there, we all, parked our vehicles, we got out of the car, and we walked over to where he said that Kathy was.
I looked over the ledge, and then I can see moving blankets.
So crime scene investigators went down. They pulled back the blankets, and one of the first things that we saw was Kathy's H-E-B shirt. It was no doubt that the skeleton remains of Kathy were there.
You don't want to be happy because it's sad, but we were so happy that it was just, you couldn't help it. You couldn't contain it. It was just a lot of happiness that we found Kathy.
It's kind of a, finally, we got this, we got this done.
Even though she had been discarded like trash, she could have some dignity in the end.
Where we found Kathy was kind of in a culvert off the side of a road. There's not much but farmland or just dust and dirt out there.
If Juan had not told us where Kathy was, eventually she would have been found. How long? It could have been months, it could be years. I call Paul, and it's just very hard to tell someone.
Rosie called me. And told me they had found her. It's terrible news, but at the same time, it was good news. Because not knowing, for me, is a lot harder than being able to deal with it and move forward.
We charged Juan Gonzalez for the offense of murder. They deemed it a homicide because of the way that the injuries were caused. The problem was, all we had were bones.
Whenever we go to trial, we always have a concern that the jury is just not going to believe our side. And we didn't actually have what exactly happened to Kathy, so it was a worry that if he would be found not guilty.
Juan finally testified at trial that he had sat on top of her and he had strangled her. The defense raised in this case sudden heat of passion. Sudden heat of passion means that you acted under such a rage that you could not control your emotions and differentiate that what you were doing is wrong. And it would have taken it from a first-degree felony, punishable by 5 to 99 or life, to a second-degree felony, punishable up to 20.
I was very worried. I was aware of the evidence that they had, but there's always that X factor. The jury could believe his reasons and decide that, based on the circumstances, that would have been justified.
The jury didn't buy his deception, and so they convicted him of murder. They sentenced him to life imprisonment.
That confession was key. It solidified his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
I'm just so grateful to the Midland Police Department and to the District Attorney's Office that they were able to uncover the truth, which ultimately finally led us to finding Kathy and being able to say goodbye properly.
A big part of me was taken. Still to this day, there's so much stuff that I have to tell her. But I can't call her.
Yeah, I miss her.
In the courtroom, Nathan read his victim impact statements.
I do remember stating that I now have an actual father figure and that even though what Juan did to try to bring us down didn't work because we just came back up.
My wife and I adopted both Nathan and Lee Adrian. My daughter is her sister. Anybody who doesn't know us and sees us, they just see us as a normal family, not one built from tragedy.
I told you, sandwich like cheese. That's why he's not eating it.
Because there doesn't have to be cheese
You got your
on
cheddar?
a sandwich.
You got your pepper jack?
I see their mom in them every day.
Lee Adrian reminds me of my mom a lot because of his enthusiasm. He's always looks on the better side, and the way he is just loving. And that's the way my mom was. And I'm glad that I had her for as long as I could, and I feel like she's my guardian angel.
For more about Criminal Confessions, go to oxygen.com.